What if I told you there's an investment out there that could pay you 10%? What about 20%? Maybe even 131.9% specifically. It sounds too good to be true, right? Well, you're partially correct, and this is what is so confusing about covered call funds these days. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dave, and today we are diving into one of the hottest and most misunderstood areas of the income investing world, which is covered call ETFs. So let's call this covered call ETFs 101. And these funds have absolutely exploded in popularity. We're talking over $60 billion in just two of the most popular ones. But here's the thing. For every investor loving those monthly dividends, there's likely one watching their principal slowly disappear, like my New Year's resolutions are doing right now on January 25th. Not bad, almost made it a full month. So let's break down exactly how these things work, when they make sense, and when they're actually just returning your money back to you with a fancy little bow on top. If that is what you're looking for, please stick around. Boop. All right, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a covered call ETF? So let's imagine you own 100 shares of a particular stock. A covered call strategy means you sell someone else the right to buy those shares from you at a specific price, and we call that the strike price. And we offer this by a certain date out into the future. In exchange, they pay you a premium up front. That premium, that's income in your pocket right now, but it's also a liability on the books. Now, if the stock stays below the strike price, the option expires worthless. You keep your shares and the premium, and we celebrate. Yay, right? But there's always a trade-off, right? The trade-off, if the stock rockets past the strike price, you have to sell at the agreed upon price. You keep the premium, but you miss out on those gains above the strike. That's the fundamental bargain with covered calls. You're trading potential upside for guaranteed income today. Covered call ETFs do this at scale. They hold a basket of stocks, something like the S&P 500 maybe, or the NASDAQ 100, or an individual stock, and systematically sell call options against those holdings. The premiums collected get distributed to you as those juicy quarterly, monthly, or even weekly dividends that you see advertised. Now let's talk about why people love these funds, and there are some legitimate reasons behind it. First of all, consistent monthly income. Unlike traditional dividend stocks that pay quarterly, most covered call ETFs pay monthly. If you're living off your portfolio or just love seeing deposits hit your account that works with your psychology, that regular cash flow is incredibly appealing. Second, higher yields than traditional investments. The JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, ticker JEPI, currently yields around 7 to 8%, and its more aggressive sibling, JEPQ, yields 9 to 11%. These are the two most popular based off of AUM in this category. However, they have not been the best performing, and some single stock covered call ETFs advertise even higher yields, north of 50%. Now we'll talk about whether those crazy yields are sustainable in a minute, but the income potential is undeniably higher than most dividend stocks. These yields can often be distributed as ROC, return of capital, as well, so they can be tax efficient depending on the product. Some examples are in this video right here from 2025, where I break down all the actual tax results from many funds like this. The next one will be coming out in a month or so as well, so like and subscribe if you want to see how those numbers changed from the previous year. Third, they can cushion downturns, sort of, right? So in flat or moderately declining markets, the option premiums you collect can offset some losses. You're still exposed to the downside, but that income provides a small buffer or hedge. It lowers the volatility of the underlying that the strategy is based upon, like the S&P 500, for example. Also, some actively managed funds like JEPI specifically hold lower volatility stocks to reduce the roller coaster ride as well. Fourth, you don't have to manage options yourself. Selling covered calls on your own requires knowledge, time, and attention. These ETFs handle all the mechanics for you, making option income accessible to regular investors. However, if you want to start learning about doing this yourself, might I recommend this video for starters. It goes into all the basics and walks you through how to do these types of trades yourself if you want to tackle that. Okay, now let's flip the script and look at the negatives, because these are not all sunshine and dividend checks. There are negatives to covered call ETFs, and there are plenty of folks on the other side of the fence that are anti-covered call ETFs, and they have some great arguments as well. So the first one here is capped upside in bull markets, and this is a big one. When stocks rally hard, you're going to underperform. Remember, you've sold away your upside. The S&P 500 returned around 18% last year. And JEPI, again, huge fund, only about 8.5%. So you're getting paid, but you can certainly miss the real party. XYLD, another great example. This is the Global X S&P 500 covered call ETF. It's delivered about an average of 8% annual return since inception, far below that of the S&P 500. So solid for income, but if you just held the S&P 500 index fund like VOO, you'd have significantly more money today. Second, distribution volatility. So here's something the marketing doesn't emphasize. Those monthly payments can swing wildly. JEPI's distributions ranged from 33 cents to 54 cents per share in 2025. That's a 66% difference between the lowest and highest month. So if you're budgeting your retirement around these payments, that variability can be a real headache. Some funds are much better, so be sure to check out that dividend payment history as a starting point. Third, the opposite side of tax efficiency, tax inefficiency. Some covered call ETFs, especially those using equity linked notes like JEPI and JEPQ, generate distributions taxed as ordinary income, not qualified dividends. So while your yield looks great on paper, Uncle Sam is going to take a bigger bite. Some funds like SPYI address this with more tax efficient structures, as mentioned earlier, but it's something to research carefully. Also, consider where you're holding these funds. Is it in a taxable account or a tax deferred account, and why? Fourth, fees. Buying VOO, which is the S&P 500, and which also tends to outperform the covered call ETFs that use the S&P 500 as the underlying for that option overlay, costs you only 0.03%, which means you pay $3 annually for every $10,000 you have invested. It is extremely cheap to own. Covered call ETFs can have fees that are 10, even 30 times higher than that. For example, a real extreme is YMAX. It has an expense ratio of 1.28% or about 42 times that of owning the S&P 500. So keep an eye on that expense ratio. Now we arrive at the part that nobody wants to talk about, NAV erosion. This is where things can get ugly, and oftentimes people get confused. So NAV stands for net asset value. Basically, this is what your ETF shares are actually worth. And here's the critical concept. When any fund pays a distribution, the NAV drops by that amount, and that's normal. But here's where covered call ETFs can trip you up. If a fund pays out more than it earns, the extra comes from your principal. This is called return of capital, or ROC. And while it sounds fancy, it's essentially the fund handing your own money back to you and calling it income. Some funds actually have distributions that are 100% return of capital. So let me say that again, 100%. You're not actually receiving income, you're slowly liquidating your investment. This can be a tax benefit of sorts in the year ROC is received, but you will still have tax due upon the sale of your shares in the future. Now, if your principal and NAV keeps declining, eventually that high yield is being calculated on a smaller and smaller base. A 12% yield on a shrinking investment can actually leave you worse off than an 8% yield on a growing one. And that's why this number here can be misleading. It is all the distributions from the past year, but it's based on the share price today, which is a lower share price because of the destructive distributions. So the lesson here is always look at total return, price change plus distributions, not just the yield. Now let's take a look at some real performance data for covered call funds in 2025. And I just did a full video on this. It's called my Apple Awards, and you should go watch it next. I'll link it up above and down below. You can check it out. It goes into much more detail, but just to touch on it briefly, let's compare some S&P 500 covered call ETFs versus that underlying to see how it did in 2025. And let's start with SPYI. So this is the NEOS S&P 500 High Income ETF, and it's been a standout. It delivered roughly a 17% total return over the past year while paying substantial income. It's also more tax efficient due to how it structures its options. But with me saying it's a standout, it still underperformed the S&P 500. Others in this category are GPIX from Goldman Sachs. It was in the ballpark as well. DIVO has been around for quite a while. This is the Amplify CWP Enhanced Dividend Income ETF. It takes a more selective approach. It only writes calls opportunistically, and it has a It's earned a 5-star Morningstar rating for its risk-adjusted returns as well. Then we have TSPY, relatively new fund. It uses 0 DTE call options, and it led the group with almost an 18% return in 2025, or about 98.5% of what the index returned. So what I find interesting looking at this data is that JEPI and JEPQ, which I've talked about a lot from JP Morgan, remain the 800-pound gorilla of this space with over 70 billion combined, which completely dwarfs all the others despite providing a significantly lower total return. Also, there are tons not covered right here that cover the NASDAQ, the Russell, and other areas as well that you can go check out. However, we also have a lot of products in this space that have absolutely struggled, right? Some single stock covered call ETFs have been brutal. These are ultra high yielding single stock funds that concentrate lots of risk in one company while capping our upside systematically. It can be the worst of both worlds. So I really think if you love a stock, go be long your stock. And if you want to sell covered calls strategically and you understand how to do that, maybe you go for it. Now, if we look at older, more established funds like the Global X funds, QYLD and XYLD, they've been solid income generators, but they have meaningfully lagged the broader market over time. So QYLD's roughly 8% annualized return looks fine until you zoom out and you compare it to what the NASDAQ 100 has done. And we see poor results from many others as well. So look at performance, and I'm talking total return, and always consider fees. So who are covered call ETFs actually for? When can they actually make sense for an investor? If you need regular monthly income and you're willing to accept the fact that these are typically going to give you a lower overall total return, maybe they're right for you. If you are in or near retirement and you're prioritizing cash flow over growth, you might consider these. If you understand that you're trading upside potential for current income, then maybe, right? Because again, you have to have that mindset. And if you plan to spend the distributions rather than reinvest them, I think these can make sense. Now, they probably don't make sense for you if you have a long time horizon and want maximum growth. So if you're a young person, you should stay away from these. If you can't tolerate watching your NAV decline in some years, stay away from these. If you're chasing yield and you don't understand what the trade-offs are, right? If you can't understand this video from beginning to end, you might just stay away from these. And again, if you think that a 50% yield means you're getting 50% returns, if you can't explain that to your buddy, then again, I would stay away from these products. Here's my bottom line. Covered call ETFs are a tool, not a miracle. Used correctly, they can be a valuable piece of an income-focused portfolio. Used incorrectly, chasing headline yields and not understanding NAV erosion, these can slowly erode your portfolio and put you in the poorhouse while you think you're actually getting rich. So if I was in my 20s, 30s, or 40s, I would stay away. I would go seek uncapped growth and embrace volatility. However, as you get a little bit older, if you want to reduce the volatility of your portfolio, maybe you're in retirement, these can be a mechanism to do that. And always look at that total return. Understand what you're buying, and please diversify. Don't put your entire portfolio into one high yield option strategy just because that yield looks amazing. And if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions at all, please ask down below. Now, if you've got a few more minutes, you can always check out one of these videos next. Appreciate you watching. Have a great one. Take care. Whoop.